To a show dedicated to the naked truth. Joining me and full of naked ambition are tonight's skinny dippers in the buff, Richard Osman. In the all-together, Lee Mack. In her birthday suit, Lolly Adefope. And indescribable, Alan Davis. Let's hear their buzzers. Lolly goes... Richard goes... Lee goes... And Alan goes... to go now, don't you? So, Alan, I'm going to start with you. Are you normal or weird?
I think I'm normal, Sandy.
Oh, weird. I feel bad. Yes, you are weird. Anybody here normal?
I would say I'll go weird.
Yes, normal. Do you feel normal, Lolly?
I feel very much at home here.
OK. You must have a strange house, but there we are. What about you, Richard? Normal?
I'm going to go out on a crazy limb.
Yeah.
And say maybe I'm a little bit weird.
Yes, the fact is nobody is normal. So, say you took an average of every single person here in this room, and we took height and shoe size and collar size and all those things, you won't find anybody who's average in all respects. It just doesn't exist. And it's called the jaggedness principle. And it really matters. So in the 1940s, the US Air Force, they thought, I know what we'll do. We'll design a cockpit that fits absolutely everybody.
The cockpit has yet to be designed.
Yes, that is.
That will fit my proportions. Yeah.
In what way?
Oh, in a plane.
In a plane.
How embarrassing. I thought you were talking about...
Yes, I tried so hard with you boys. So they took the measurements of over 4,000 pilots and they designed this cockpit seat based on these 10 different body measurements, and it didn't fit a single pilot because there isn't any such thing as normal, and in the end they had to develop the adjustable seat for airplanes because of the jaggedness principle. So if you take me and Richard... So, Richard, you come here just for a minute, darling,
oh,
OK?
Goodness.
So, if you wanted to
Where's the sun?
Where's the sun? If there was a jacket to be had for the average quiz show presenter...
Can I just say, I'm very proud of Sandy and her time at the school. I'm so pleased that she won the Grammar Prize. Well done.
You do know that people watching won't know who's, and I don't use the word lightly, abnormally heighted. It could be that you're 25 foot.
Yes, we should.
We need some proportion.
Yes, that's true.
I'm 5'9", to give an indication.
I used to work with the brilliant Humphrey Lyttelton, and Humphrey was exactly the same height as me when he was kneeling.
I bet I am.
Should we try that?
Yeah,
OK, let's just try. OK. Right, here we go. Oh, just about. Play you at netball any day. So, trying to find an average person is unbelievably difficult. The Australian Bureau of Statistics used the national census to try and find an average Australian. So here's what they announced. She was a 37-year-old woman. She had a son and daughter. He was 6 and she was 9. The woman is 5'4" and 11 stone. She's got a 3-bedroom house with about £200,000 left on the mortgage. Her family came originally from the UK. That is the average Australian. And then they couldn't find a single person in the entire country who matched it.
I think it's me.
Well, are you 5'4"?
Yeah.
Are you Australian? We were so close. Yes.
You know
OK, try this one, all right? So this is a 2014 dating site. They surveyed 2,000 London men. So the ideal London woman, here's what she looks like. 5'6".
5'4".
5'4", OK. 9 stone, 34C bust, drinks white wine, has no tattoos and supports Tottenham.
No wonder she's single.
Yeah, well... I've got more on her. I've got more. Brown hair. Brown hair. She drove an Audi TT. She was either a nurse or a teacher. She liked roast dinners. She had an exotic foreign accent. She loved Dirty Dancing, the movie, and the top television show was Friends.
Oh, she sounds like an idiot.
She does.
That's what a man's really looking for in a woman, somebody who likes Dirty Dancing. It's so rare to find.
I know.
I don't think I have any of those
Don't have
qualities.
brown hair.
It's kind of black.
OK. So, if you're not normal, you could be weird. In fact, we are all at the table weird. It stands for Western, educated from industrialised, rich, democratic countries. So why might that be a problem?
The problem is because they're missing the C off the end of weird. Yeah, countries.
Oh,
so the
I see.
accent works pretty well.
Doesn't really scan, though, does it?
No.
Yeah.
Weird.
So the problem is that whenever we do sociological research or psychological research, 96% of the people who participate in these kind of studies, they're usually students, are weird, even though that only represents 12% of the world's population.
Surely normal could be an acronym for something.
Yes.
Yes,
couldn't it?
what could it be?
It ends in Arsenal loving. I know that. I'm just trying to...
Yeah, and the C's for something else, though.
Nordic men, Arsenal loving.
Yeah, like John Jensen.
Johnny Jensen.
Is he a Danish footballer?
There he was, yeah.
Yes.
I used to
Scored one
work in
goal
a
in the-
bookmaker's, and John Jensen used to come in, put bets on, and he put 50 quid once, and it won about 400 quid, and he never collected it.
No.
Wow.
If John Jensen's at home watching this, he'd be
I know.
like, this is unbelievable. You're literally just talking about me.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to tell people that they've got a bet that won, because they might have accidentally put that bet on and meant something else.
He could be sitting at home going, det var da umuligt, nu har jeg tænkt det, der var pengene.
Typical Jensen.
Yeah.
Was he the Swedish chef or something?
Yeah.
He scored in the final of the European Championships when Denmark won the tournament in 1992. Stunning goal against Germany. Arsenal signed him, and he didn't score again for 3 years.
I was only 2 then.
Yeah. OK, I'm going to just cry for Are you a football fan?
Coys, coys, coys is all I know.
What is that?
Come on, you Spurs.
Suddenly, the perfect woman hoves into view.
She likes white wine.
I know a football joke. Oh, I bet Ozil might have asthma now because of all of the dust on Arsenal's trophy cabinet.
Oh.
A good joke.
That's I don't know anything about football. I think you've caused a frisson. I can feel it in
That's
the
the
room.
noise of a frisson, isn't it?
It's a frisson.
John Jensen's throwing stuff at the telly right now.
He can't afford a telly. He left his money at the bookmakers.
He's not watching the telly now, he's round at William Mills banging on the window.
Anyway, none of us is normal, but we might just be weird. Now, let's look at some naked apes. What did the Neanderthal take with him when he went clubbing?
Are you meaning a club to club things with? Over the years, I thought I'd get better at this.
We've all been hoping, Alan.
Given that Alan got a klaxon for saying
Yes.
clubs, I'm guessing he didn't use clubs.
Very
Or she.
good.
Yes.
No, he or
You
she
see?
did not
That's
use-
how to do it.
They lived above the tree line. They lived in a desert. There weren't any trees. Otherwise, you'd use a branch.
No, but they had spears and arrows, which had presumably got wooden shafts.
They couldn't get near enough to club anything. It was too dangerous.
For all we know, they didn't have clubs. I mean, the main thing about it is that we've never, ever seen anything shaped remotely like a club. No artefact anywhere.
I base all my knowledge of
Yeah.
Neanderthal men from the wacky races. I base that.
The Flintstones, obviously, which is incredibly accurate. All those people living with the dinosaurs.
Running in the cars.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, we've got wacky racists, we've got Flintstones, and you've got Captain Caveman, so that's 3 separate bits of evidence
Yes.
that suggest they did have clubs.
Yeah,
Unless they're all making it up.
yeah.
So they didn't take clubs, but they took cameras.
Yes. That's one of the earliest photographs.
That's incredible.
Ever. A
They couldn't say
daguerreotype.
cheese then, because they didn't have cheese
Cheese?
for the photograph.
Oh, I
You know what they said?
see. Bason's quite good. Bison.
To be fair, you are just saying bison and then smiling. Aren't you? Bison.
Yeah.
You could say anything, couldn't you? Stick a rock.
Feet. But we've never, ever... There's never been a painting, there's never been an artefact. I mean, to be fair, most wooden artefacts will rot. So you get paintings of spears and you get spear heads that you find, but you don't actually get the wooden...
You don't get the wooden pole, right? So
Yeah.
they might have had clubs that have rotted away. I understand that you don't want to go too near an animal with a club, but if you're fighting neighbouring tribes...
Probably you would just pick up a stick.
But a stick is a club.
Well, it's not shaped like a club, that's the point.
When is a club a stick?
Yeah.
When you cover it in chocolate.
It's the makings of a double act here.
What they do find a lot of in Neanderthal sites is bones, though, so they might have done that thing like from Tales of the Unexpected, where they got a frozen leg of lamb and used that as a club and then ate the evidence.
The freezer was also an early invention. I'm sorry, Lolly, I apologise.
I'm really learning a lot.
You're learning, that's good. Because I feel like knowledge is draining from me as I speak. Now a question about the bare necessities of life, such as shelter. So who lived here?
Not
Massive.
bats.
Massive?
No, I said massive.
OK, and what did you say?
And I said not bats.
Not bats, OK.
So between us, the answer is massive, not bat.
Yeah.
It's a typical type of not bat, the massive not bat.
Yeah. We could go through a long list of things that didn't live there.
John Jensen.
And he's still playing or not still playing?
No. I mean, probably has a kick about with his kids in the garden, you know.
I know he's not betting anymore.
Anyway, these caves, I can tell you they're in Brazil.
Oh, Brazilians.
Is not correct. They sometimes went as deep as 70 feet. They had multiple chambers.
Is it some sort of massive animal?
Yes.
Is it termites?
No, that would be huge, wouldn't it? That would be an army of termites.
Yeah, like a load of termites
Yeah.
going, go, and they're making a massive tunnel.
I love that. Little tiny hard
And
hats
then they-
running.
They build it like a little cart,
Yeah.
and then they all ride down it together.
Oh, this is... Suddenly my answer not anywhere near as interesting, if I'm honest.
Is it a burrowing mammal?
It is. It's a giant ground sloth. They lived from about 2.8 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago, and some of them were as big as an adult elephant. The largest species, the Megatherium, weighed up to 4 tons, and it was 20 foot long from nose to tail. So they still have some living relatives today, which is the tree sloth. The difference in scale, I mean, say imagine me and Richard again. To be comparably larger, Richard would need to be about 50 foot tall.
So I'd need to be 3 foot taller than I currently am.
Yes. What's the largest burrowing animal today?
Oh, that'd be the giant not bat.
Badgers are quite big.
Bigger than that?
Wombats, do they go under?
Giant badger?
I like the question, do wombats go under?
Is it one bat?
No, it's not a wombat. No.
2 bats.
2 bats. I'm going to go with... Well, it's not bats, OK? It's definitely not bats.
Is it humans?
No, it's the polar bear.
The polar
It's
bear
the polar bear,
burrow?
yeah, they dig...
Well, hang on, Alan, I don't think humans burrow either. You said humans.
Made the Channel
Well,
Tunnel.
they made the tunnel. Actually, I think you should win that. That's very good. But it's not the largest animal, is it? The polar bear, they dig a maternity den, either in the snow or in the earth, and so they're the largest burrowing animal. Speaking of caves, anybody been to Nottingham?
I've been to Nottingham, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, whoa, so have I, mate. Come on.
I actually went to university really near Nottingham,
Did
so
you?
let's all
This is a
chill out,
small
actually.
world, Alan.
Yeah, I've been there.
No way. Alan's been as well, Sandy.
I made my professional debut at Nottingham Playhouse.
Did you?
I did. But anyway, the city centre was once known as Tiguacubac, which means the place of caves. So from as early as the 11th century, people lived in caves in Nottingham. And under the Nottingham Enclosure Act of 1845, it is still illegal to rent out a cave to anybody in Nottingham. They were trying to stop unscrupulous landlords renting them out to the poor. I'd quite like to live in a cave, though. Don't you think it would be fine?
Yeah, that'd be okay.
No.
No? Oh. What's your
for me.
reservation?
Wi-Fi.
So, OK.
If you had a good hub.
Yeah.
Right.
On that picture in the right, in the
Yeah.
back, is that a downstairs toilet?
It does look awfully like some kind of font, doesn't it?
Or like a sundial, but no light.
It's the world's worst sundial.
The classic underground sundial. Where do we put the sundial? In the basement.
Yeah. Do you know what the original name for Nottingham is?
Is it Ingham?
It's got Nottingham in it.
No, but it's not just Ingham, and then they said it's changed to not Ingham.
No.
Nottinghampton.
Nottingham is the shortened version. of its original name.
Nottingham.
Exactly right, Snottingham.
Nottingham!
It was ruled by a Saxon chief named Snot. And it was literally the homestead of Snot's people. It was Snottingham. And then, I don't know why they dropped the S, because I think it's perfectly charming.
Well, I think they should put it back.
Yeah. Now, your ancestors could make fire using things that they found. You have something on a tray, and I will give you 20 points to anybody who can start a fire with the things that you have got there.
Can I use my lighter that I've got in my pocket?
I'm just going to get out my fire blanket.
Oh, now, look,
I've
can't
got
you
here.
put that in the lemon? Won't that work?
Supposedly, doesn't it?
Can't you get a charge out of citrus fruit?
You can.
Am I about to?
Not enough to upset yourself, I don't think.
I'm going to use this to look for a match. Meanwhile, I'm going to use this to look for a match. What, does it matter if we open that? Will that help?
You don't want to open it, but you can actually use a can of soda in order to
Is that what it is,
start
then?
a
Just a can of fizzy pop?
Just a can of fizzy pop, yeah. What would you use 2 sticks for example? So you don't necessarily have to do it, but...
Well, rubbing together, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
You're supposed to go at that, aren't
Yeah.
you?
So you need to sharpen it into a point and then rub it's the quickest way.
That's not going to work, is it? How are you all day doing this?
It'll be freezing cold,
There
and then
is-
it'll just be someone in the dark going, "Where are the caves, for crying out loud?" Can't go in them. Why?
I can't see this sundial without light.
It's not very sharp enough, is it?
I'm going to show you a very quick way that you can make it... please don't try this.
So is there any reason why we don't get the safety stuff?
Because... yeah, because you're not actually going to be able to do it, that's why.
Oh.
So what you do is you take a 9-volt battery and some steel wool, you place it on here like this,
Oh, wow.
Whoa!
and there you are.
So cool.
And then that's all you have to do. And then you would add some kindling. I have to get my fire blanket out. There we go.
I think you just got it there.
Did it be all right?
So you can still do it with these things, isn't it?
OK, if you look at the base of your tin, you can see that it is a concave
Yes.
shape. If you polished that, you would be able to reflect enough sunlight in order to be able to make fire. And in fact, we can demonstrate this in the studio, but obviously we're going to need experts. So we have with us our friends from the Festival of the Spoken Nerd, the science comedy phenomenon. They tour all over the UK and have brought one of their experiments from their show. Please welcome Matt, Steve and Helen, the nerds. I was right, wasn't I, that the tin of pop is a kind of...
Yes, it's almost the right shape to focus light in. This is an actual paraboloid, which is the perfect shape. So we can use this to set fire to something.
Oh,
Don't
man.
just pointed at me.
Can I just say, Alan, your hair does look a bit like... You could go up in seconds!
Put a 9-volt battery on me head.
We've got a graphic here of the 2 dishes we've set up. And if you cut one in half, so we can swivel one around, and if you unpeel it, it's just a parabola. And the amazing thing about a parabola is any line which comes directly down, parallel with the axes, will go through exactly the same spot, the focal point. And the same thing works in reverse. So if something emits from the focal point, it will be sent out as a parallel.
That's how the Death Star works, isn't it?
That's essentially the cleverest thing that's ever been said near you, Lee, isn't it?
We're going to give this a go, but please, can you put your sunglasses on?
Because these are going to protect us, aren't they?
So about 200 years ago, this was a party trick where they'd put a super hot cannonball at one focal point and gunpowder at the other.
We thought we wouldn't try that.
We asked, and apparently we're not allowed because it's no longer the past. But they have let us bring a heat lamp and nitrocellulose, so that's flash cotton.
This will be the past one day, you know.
Not on Dave.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, it's not right in my eyes.
You sort of...
Fantastic! The nerds! Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. Right, let's pop our trays away.
It's easier to start a fire now we've all got Tinder on our phones.
We don't all have Tinder on our phones. So...
Some of us are grinder people. Come on.
the bare necessities of life today. So you said that you needed
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. You consider that to be a necessity?
Wi-Fi and a good book.
Oh. Well, you're just trying to look good there.
Yeah.
So, top 5 most essential things for British people.
Knowing when the bins go out. You know, especially when there's been a bank holiday and it's like, oh...
Yeah.
And, like, somebody breaks rank and they put their bins out and everyone goes, oh, should I? Because it was a bank holiday, but what if they know something I don't know? And suddenly everyone's bins are out.
I like to do the thing where you get up early and put the wrong coloured bin out and see if everyone copies. And then, just when they've all gone to work, swap it around again.
It's such a weird sort of British obsession. I remember when I very first came to live in Britain, I was 14 years old, and people talked about putting cream or jam on their scone first, and I realised that they cared.
That's an example of first world problems.
I know.
You know, when you get it, it's a scone, and when you've eaten it, it's scone. You know that.
Yeah, you got the...
That's the sound of John Jensen chuckling away, going, you know, I wasn't sure about this programme at first, but...
So, you are right, Lolly. An internet connection is the very first thing people decided was most important. What's next?
Mobile phone.
Mobile phone came in at 19.
Mobile phone charger.
Mobile phone charger.
I think you'll find plug socket becomes increasingly important.
About that theory, we've got to say computer if Wi-Fi's important.
TV, actually, is the second one.
Well, what are you using the Wi-Fi for?
It's just nice to know that you've got Wi-Fi in case you do get a
Also, the people who answered this question would have been weird.
So it's food and water and shelter not on the list?
Not at all. So it goes internet, internet connection, TV, a cuddle is third. A trustworthy best friend is number 4.
And a club.
Number 5, the thing you'd want when you come back from a club, a daily shower was number 5.
Daily?
Shower?
Cup of tea, number 7. Having somebody say I love you, number 8.
What, after a cup of tea?
After a cup of tea. I have to say coffee, wine, chocolate and a night on the sofa all beat owning a phone.
But how are you going to tell anyone that you had such a nice time if you don't have a phone?
Yeah.
What's the point of doing it if you're not going to show off?
So are you serious, Ollie, that you can't have a good time without telling somebody?
Why would you do it otherwise if you can't show
So do you get this thing, separation anxiety, if you're separated from your telephone?
Yeah, so if I'm on, like, a tall bridge, the person that I'm with will be, like, scared because they might fall into the water.
Right.
And I'll just be concerned that I'm going to drop my phone in the water.
You see how things have changed, because some years ago when I had my first mobile phone, I was visiting an elderly friend of mine, and the phone rang, and she said, who was that? I said, it was my agent. She said, oh, how did she know you were here?
I did that thing with my phone the other day. You know, whenever you leave the house, you're always looking for your phone. So I was getting increasingly annoyed. Just thinking, where have I put it? It's not in the kitchen. I haven't left it there. Checking in jackets. And literally 10 minutes later, I realised it's in my hand.
Have you done the thing where you can't find your phone, so you ring it, and then you realise you're ringing it from the phone?
And it doesn't help because it's engaged.
There was a study done, California State University. So what they did was they got half the students who took part to turn off their phone and put it away out of sight, and the other half had their phones actually taken away. And then they measured the levels of anxiety every 10 minutes, OK? So people who used the phone, very little, there was hardly any increase. But people who were heavy users of the telephone, it went up every 10 minutes for the whole hour until they became unbelievably anxious. And apparently some people call it FOMO. Do you know about FOMO? F-O-M-O?
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. And FOBO, do you FOBO?
Fear of...
Bogging off.
Fear of being offline. But I don't know whether it's to do with the telephone or people aren't just any good anymore at just having nothing to do. So they did this extraordinary study in 2014, a guy called Professor Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia, and he put people in an empty room and they didn't have anything at all in there apart from a device which was attached to their ankle with which they could decide to give themselves an electric shock. 18 out of 42 of the people who did it, I have to say more men than women, chose to give themselves at least one.
Is that because the women didn't have to operate it? Just asking.
You do know there's been a regime change, don't you? And now question about naked ambition. Do you know what this man does faster than anyone in the world? It's actually amazing.
Hair growing.
Oh, yeah, hair growing. Because I want to see that.
What's the thing that we talk about? It's always impressive. You go, wow, he's the fastest in the world at that.
Running.
Running, yes.
Running.
He's not faster than Usain Bolt. You're not going to say that.
In a way, he ran the mile faster than the current world flat record.
So, a downhill runner.
He's a downhill runner. He's a British athlete. And when he was a 16-year-old schoolboy, he ran the fastest mile ever. In 1996, the Meltham Maniac Mile. So it's 1 mile down a fantastically steep hill just outside Huddersfield. The course drops 400 feet. It has since been banned, this race, for health and safety reasons. But he completed it in 3 minutes and 24 seconds.
You have to keep running. You
can't
roll.
stop. No, you can't roll. This is the most British race, I think, of all time, because it says that the course started at the cattle grid by Tinker Lane.
Did they stop it after a terrible injury or just because something could happen there?
Yeah.
Well, we can find out because Craig Wheeler, fastest man over a mile, is in the audience.
Oh! And you go to the top of the steps and run down.
So, Craig, why did they stop it?
No idea. Obviously, this day and age, health and safety in anything.
And they ran it the other way as well, in the opposite direction, didn't they?
Yes.
It was called the Murder Mile.
That's the one?
Yeah. We've got a VT, actually, Craig, of you. I don't know if you can talk us through it, but was there any moment when you were running that you actually thought you were just going to do what Lolly suggested and roll down?
Most of the race, I thought I was just going to go flat on my face.
Right.
Did we actually see him stop then, or does he just carry on?
Brilliant. 20 seconds faster than the world record for the flat mile. Was it record breakers that you were doing there, Craig?
Yes. I went back the following year to try and break the record with record breakers, and I fell 2 seconds short, which is still the second fastest time ever.
So you're first and second?
Yes.
There's a proper champion. That was Craig Wheeler, the fastest man ever. Now, would you like to see a very small lady completely naked?
What's the difference between completely... In that case, definitely yes. What's the difference between completely naked and naked?
Well, I think that the chiffon scarf doesn't count as completely naked.
Or a pair of white socks, that
Yeah,
turns me on.
that's-
Naked, pair of white socks and very small. Is that the
Yeah,
offer?
do you want to have a look?
Is that the offer?
Do you want to have a look? This show's gone downhill quicker than that bloke.
Have a look at this. It's incredible. Look at that. So this is a sculpture created by the South African artist Jonty Hurwitz, and this woman is roughly 100 microns tall, so she is far too small to be seen with the naked eye, and she is, in fact, depicted standing in the eye of a needle.
Come on. How did he do it?
It's science.
Can I just say, you just said the word, it's science, like there's no way I'm going to understand it.
I was trying to lead you in gently, but you won't. He's also did a surfer on an eyelash, and it's the culmination of lots and lots of development of science. You need multi-photon lithography, kind of laser printing. You need photogrammetry, taking measurements with photographs, and they're called nano-sculptures.
Yeah, and of course the first thing they do is do a naked woman.
Yeah.
Event like
But if you think about how small this is, so a nano means 1 billion. So a nanometer is 1 billionth of a metre. That is about the length that a fingernail grows in a second. There's a lovely quote from Horowitz. He says, "The nanoworks that I present to you here represent more than just a feat of science. They represent the moment in history that we ourselves are able to create a full human form at the same scale as the sperm that creates us in order to facilitate the creation."
Well, I must say, as a blurb for a show, that is...
too long.
It's too long.
Too long.
It'd be great if he tried to carve that onto the statue, wouldn't it? Hard enough doing the nipples, I can't do all that.
It's not modest. Yeah, he's really not. What I just did, yeah, it's just the dawn of a new humanity. Nothing. Also, we've only got his word for it, he did it.
Are you saying it doesn't exist?
Well, all you've got to do is stick a picture of a naked woman on the bottom of a microscope.
Right.
You go, look at that. You go, oh, that's a naked woman. That's amazing.
I mean, you're like when you've lost your phone. Imagine misplacing that as well. On the day of the exhibition.
You've got the thing ready, and somebody loses a button just before the exhibition.
This is
Like,
it.
anybody got a needle? And just, oh.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Now, thing anyone's ever done in the nude?
Running downhill.
Running downhill.
Oh,
Oh, that would hurt, wouldn't
If
it?
you were a woman, it could take your eye out.
If you're me, you could take your eye out.
So one day you're able to sit as comfortably as you are.
Has someone discovered something? Was Alexander Fleming in the nude when he discovered penicillin?
This is something that's absolutely extraordinary. That was mostly done in the nude. It is, if I'm frank with you, it's for the purposes of this question.
They did it for the purposes of this question.
Well, the answer is for the purposes of this question. It's World War II was won in the nude. So who might have been in the nude winning World War II?
Adolf Hitler.
And on the other side,
Coronation Street.
on the less grumpy side,
Are you talking about our very own Winston?
Winston
Less
Churchill.
grumpy.
I don't think Winston would be called less grumpy.
I thought Hitler was actually quite upbeat, even though he was obviously a terrible guy.
You can say what you like about him. He was always started the day with a smile on his lips. He'd wake people up and go, do you know what, this morning I was thinking Poland's lovely.
He's got two tiny women, one of the end of each finger. Talk about pretties. Talk.
It looks like he's just thrown a dart, actually. It's like he's got a dartboard at the end of the bath.
That's like your perfect... having a dartboard at the end of your bath.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Imagine how clean you'd be.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
And then you end up one of those targets in a rifle range where you get them out again and then wind it back.
Is it a boy thing? Can you imagine having a dartboard at the end of your bath?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Just me, then. It's something to do with dartboards.
It's something that he invented whilst in the bath.
He loved to be naked. In fact, he so often received people while he was in the bath that his ministers and staff officers were nicknamed companions of the bath. And,
Oh, that old chestnut.
That's when he got out.
Sorry, no,
Chief usher at the White House, a man called J.B. West, and he wrote about Churchill. In his room, Mr. Churchill wore no clothes at all most of the time during the day. And there's a story that when Churchill was staying at the White House, President Franklin Roosevelt called on him in his rooms, and Churchill was nude, and Roosevelt said, I'm very sorry. And Churchill said, the Prime Minister of Great Britain has nothing to conceal from the President of the United States. And the President later told his secretary that, you know, Grace, he's pink and white all over.
What colour was he expecting, just out of interest?
I think he wasn't expecting to know any colour, is the truth of it. Other famous nudists, Enid Blyton was a famous nudist.
Oh.
Apparently she liked to play naked tennis with her friends.
You didn't write that in any of the books.
No, she didn't. Benjamin Franklin regularly took what he called air baths. D.H. Lawrence once said he found inspiration by climbing naked in mulberry trees. And that's the US President John Quincy Adams, who regularly skinny-dipped in the Potomac River. And apparently once a tramp stole his clothes and he had to ask a passerby to go to the White House and get him some more. Every now and then you see in the supermarket in the summer, you see a man who's topless, don't you? Do you mind that?
It's one of those things where it's like, you do your thing, but for me, repulsive.
Yeah.
Please don't do it.
The way to avoid that is simply go to Waitrose.
I've never understood that. It is... See, I'm the opposite. I think it's completely fine to be absolutely naked in Lidl. What's wrong with that?
Unexpected item in bagging area.
You pay extra 5p for that. I'm not doing that.
Until 1938, in America, it was illegal for a man to be topless in public, and that included on the beach. So in 1935, 42 topless men were arrested on a beach in Atlantic City, and the people responsible for the arrests declared, we'll have no gorillas on our beaches. They used to monitor women's bathing suits as well, so in the 1920s, there were special deputy sheriffs sworn in on some beaches in New York. They were all women, they were called sheriffettes, and their job was to measure the distance between the bottom of a woman's swimsuit and her knees. And actually, when I was at boarding school, at the beginning of every year, you had to put your skirt on and then you had to kneel in front of matron, and the top of your the hem had to touch the floor. And if it didn't, you had to go and get a new skirt.
Or a bigger pen.
Bigger pen.
Just get a bigger pen and they can have a shorter skirt. Bigger pen, you see, so it reaches the shorter skirt.
It was pen, Lee.
Hem.
There's the
Well,
problem,
they said
yeah.
pen.
No, hem.
I love the lead.
I love that Lee has such confidence. He's thinking, there is no way that joke didn't work.
Yeah. There must be a technical error on that, because this is gold, this stuff. Oh, we're hen!
Yeah. Now, while we're in that area, what can't you do to a naked Osman in Kyrgyzstan?
I genuinely turned around there because I thought Alan's head was blocking something else I wanted to do.
I thought you were going to say, I remember that horse then. 2 wonderful weeks with her.
She looks exhausted.
I will just say, if you're going to pull out, it was cold. It was colder than it looks, I'll tell you that.
Did you say in what country?
In Kyrgyzstan.
Osman is a name across all the stans. And
Where does it come
Mongolia.
from, Osman, darling?
Well, the Ottoman Empire, really. So it comes from Turkey.
Right.
But the whole of the Middle East is full of Osmans. If I ever go abroad and they see my credit card, they laugh their heads off that I'm an Osman. The fact that a very tall, very white guy
It's called Osman.
is called Osman, they think it's the funniest thing.
OK, so it's not a person, is what I can tell you. A naked Osman.
Kill it, eat it.
You can't eat it anymore, but you used to be able to. It's in the water.
Catch it.
It's a trout-like fish. It used to be the most populous fish in Lake Izhik-Kul in northeast Kyrgyzstan.
And it's called an Osman?
It's called a naked Osman.
Oh, a naked
Why
Osman.
is it called a naked Osman?
It's something to do with the way it looks.
Hey, whoa.
But it's been overfished, so by 1986 it was almost wiped out. There's been a total ban. You'd be very pleased to know you can no longer catch a naked Osman.
That is
in
terrific
Kyrgyzstan.
news. Although if you do want to catch a naked Osman, no, forget it.
It's a fantastic lake, Lake Izhik-Kul. It is the second largest mountain lake in the world, obviously after Titicaca. And what's extraordinary about it is it's endorheic, and that means it's got no outlets other than evaporation, so it's much deeper now than it was in medieval times. It used to be a fantastically popular stopping route on the Silk Road, and there is, as far as we know, a 2,500-year-old city at the bottom of the lake.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So they found all sorts of archaeological finds around there. All of which brings us to the place that isn't wearing a stitch of general knowledge. It's general ignorance, so fingers on buzzers, please. First of all, how many shades of grey are there?
One.
Is not right.
Is it 49.9?
Unlimited.
No, well,
Limited.
a very weird moment. I felt like Gypsy Rose Lee. Compelled to take my clothes off. The Pantone colour chart lists 104 shades of grey. There are 71 of white, and there are 110 of naked or nude, i.e. skin-coloured. But that one is really weird, because you can buy nude tights, and you can buy naked shoes, naked sticking plasters, but they all presume that somebody's white. All of those colours.
I used to get that when I used to go, I used to have like a nude lip gloss and
Yeah.
they'd give me a chalk white lip gloss.
There are 104 shades of grey, which is, well, frankly, plenty. When you're fishing, which fish should you throw back into the water? Yes, Lee.
The ones that are slightly undersized. Oh, no, I didn't say that. There's a big difference between small and slightly undersized. I have to use that line all the time. It would be awful, wouldn't it, in the bedroom if you said, that's not small, it's slightly undersized, and that sound came in. All right, small.
What it is that we now think the reverse of what we used to think, which used to throw back the small ones to give them a chance to grow. In fact, a population of larger, older fish is much more stable. If there's a lack of food, for instance, then a few big fish will eat less and they will survive, and the older fish are also going to provide stability to the population because they are going to provide more and better quality offspring. So it's exactly the reverse of what we used to think.
I cannot believe fishing just got more boring.
So, anyway, name an extinct animal with teeth like sabres.
No, you're saying... There we go.
Is it the sword-toothed cat?
Is it the rapier-toothed panther?
Any more for any more?
Is it the saber-toothed tiger?
It isn't that. Why isn't it that?
Because they didn't actually have Teeth like sabres?
Because no such animal ever existed.
That's what I said.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
No wonder it's extinct.
There's never been a saber-toothed tiger or a lion. The saber-toothed...
Never been a lion?
Saber-toothed lion.
Oh,
no.
I see. I think you said there'd never been a lion, full stop. I thought,
Yeah,
have I just been
lion.
falling
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah.
It's a man in a costume at the zoo.
Yeah, it's a lion with the hem of his skirt. No,
Pen? What's he doing with a pen?
There's never been a saber-toothed tiger or a lion. The saber-toothed cats, not closely related to either tigers or lions. In fact, they weren't even cats, strictly speaking. They were kind of stocky and bear-like.
Looks like a sloth.
It does look in the sloth area, doesn't it? And they range in size from a large pet cat to one the size of the horse that you took on your holidays.
When you say took...
Two-way thing. Yeah.
There was a saber-toothed trout. That there was. 6.5 feet long.
Wow. Shut the front door.
Yes. But there's no such thing as a saber-toothed tiger, and there never has been. What is this noise? Yes.
Is it Winston Churchill taking a meeting?
That's his bath when they heard about the invasion.
Really unpleasant.
Me nervous? No, I'm not nervous.
It is the noise of the small intestine cleaning itself in preparation for food. The noise is called the noise is called borborygmus.
What's it called?
It's your tummy rumbling. And it's one of the few physiological processes that we can hear with the naked ear.
Is that the one where, when you're with your wife and you don't know who's done the noise?
Yeah.
That's true, isn't it? If you're close to somebody and
Yeah.
someone's tummy rumble, it's impossible to work out whose.
Yeah.
You would think if it was inside you, you'd be able to work it out, right, Lee?
Yeah.
But you want to say that next time. I believe that was you, that borborygmus.
I mean, you can't read it, so I'm not going to be able to say it, am I?
Finally, I'll give you 100 points if you can pat your head while rubbing your stomach.
Pat
Anybody?
your head.
And rub your stomach.
And rub your stomach.
Not there, not there.
I didn't do it, Sandy.
You didn't do
not
it.
your head.
Give it a go,
Look at you,
Richard.
teacher's pet. I didn't do it. Only because you couldn't reach. It's quite high up, isn't it?
Listen, currently I'm 1 point up on everybody.
Have you worked it out?
No, but if I don't do anything at all, I make up a point on everybody, because you all did it wrong.
Why did they do it wrong, Richard?
Because the stomach was in the wrong place.
And where is it?
I don't know.
It's much higher up than most people realise.
Switch around.
It's just under your pecs, really. So it's not down here, it's up here. And did you know, this is the most extraordinary thing, the stomach lining blushes when you blush.
I don't think I can blush.
That'll be all that naked foundation you're wearing.
I tell you what, it's a challenge for us, though, isn't it? If you can't, I bet Lee can make you blush.
I like a challenge.
So to the scores. Well, Richard was exactly right. With a magnificent 1 point, this week's winner in first place, it's Richard. Second place, with a fantastic debut of -8, Lolly. In third place, -20, it's Lee.
Thank you. I'm happy with that.
With -35, it's Alan. My thanks to Lolly, Lee, Richard and Alan, and I leave you with this Neolithic newspaper nugget from The Sun. This woman walked very close to me, and it was obvious that underneath her clothing, she wore little or nothing. Good night.